Broken Arrow 911. Hello?
My brother's attacking my family.
Props for that. Props for that. Impossible. Yeah. Take them on something there. New hairstyle, check it. It's called a faux hawk, where I don't have to shave the rest of my head, but I still get a mohawk. I hope it still looks like a faux hawk.
This is Robert Bever. In 2015, he and his little brother Michael massacred their family, parents and toddler siblings included. Yeah, the cringy kid you just saw in that video became a mass murderer at the tender age of 18. His brother was 16, but they had a big plan. When the police asked them why they would do such a thing, they simply replied that they wanted to outdo the Columbine Massacre. What led the two brothers to this sick obsession? And what prompted them to kill their own family rather than their schoolmates? This is the full story of the Bever family massacre and Robert Bever's descent into madness. Today's story takes place in a small town called Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Well, it's not really a town, it's a suburb of Tulsa. It's a quiet, peaceful place that attracts a lot of young families who want a bigger home and a safer neighborhood. But if Broken Arrow was small, the Bever family certainly compensated with family members. There was the father David, mother April, Robert, Michael, Daniel, Christopher, Victoria, Crystal, and Autumn. Yep, there were 7 kids. And they all lived in a big, beautiful house close to the Arkansas River at 709 Magnolia Court. This might have been heaven for the Beavers, who only needed a church and a family to be content. But for teenage Robert, this sort of isolation was more like a hell. He and the rest of his siblings were homeschooled by their mom, and they had virtually no friends outside their family. He was bored and lonely, to say the least. So he developed an obsession.
I'm going to make my first skit soon. Can't show you a sneak preview or it would ruin it. It'll be like a minute long. It's going to be some good stuff. I think it's going to be hilarious.
He might have been the only one to think it was hilarious. But any teen living in the 2010s would probably take to the internet if they had literally nothing else going on. Everyone who knew the Bever family could confirm that they were a very quiet group. This was pretty odd for a family of 9. Usually when there's 7 kids, there's a whole lot of noise coming from inside the house. Parties, arguments, or just toddlers spreading joy the only way they can, by screaming and laughing. But this wasn't the case with the Beavers. April was a stay-at-home mom and a big fan of Reddit. She was passionate about computer science and she wanted to get all of her kids interested in it, since she was their teacher. So for her, Reddit was a place where she could get help from the community with homeschooling and computer science tricks. On Reddit, she described herself as tired, happy, blessed. Most mothers of 7 would probably agree with at least the first part. April had married David back in 1987. She was only 15, and David was 23. This paints a pretty clear picture of their dynamic. David worked as a technician for HP, and he was the only person earning money for the family. He also acted as the head of the family and was controlling, and at times an abusive partner and father. So the neighbors saw a family of quiet kids who respected their parents, but they were actually terrified of them. And since Robert was the oldest, he was the first one to find his escape: YouTube, particularly his channel, Cult Empire.
Salute. Hey everyone, it's me, Cult Empire. In case you didn't know, you found me by accident, or you're expecting someone else. Yeah, why would you do that? Anyway, this is the second first ever update, which I think is a major improvement.
At first, Robert's channel was just innocent teenage cringe comedy.
Props for that. Props for that. Impossible. Yeah. Take them on something there. New hairstyle, check it. It's called a faux hawk, where I don't have to shave the rest of my head, but I still get a mohawk. I hope it still looks like a faux hawk.
And before long, his little brother Michael joined in on it. Well, April and David had sheltered their sons all their lives, but they couldn't shelter them from that. At first, Robert wanted to be famous on the internet. Then, he wanted to be famous through murder. Then, he roped his brother into it. The two boys would stay up at night watching videos about the Columbine school shooting and their infamous school massacres. For them, Their career path was clear: commit a school massacre and become world famous. 15 people had died at Columbine. Robert and Michael Bever were aiming for 50 plus. There was only one problem though. Their school was their home. In 2014, 17-year-old Robert got a job at a call center and started saving money. But he didn't spend his money on a new phone or video games. He equipped his room with knives, matches, Calver vests, and black masks. You'd think a reclusive family would be extremely concerned with such behavior, but it was 13-year-old Crystal who was more concerned than her mom. When she told April how she felt about Robert's new equipment, April shrugged it off as teenage boy stuff. I don't know about you, but I don't think teenage boy stuff normally includes weapons and mass murder obsessions. Perhaps April was lenient, or perhaps she didn't want to believe that her oldest two sons would actually commit a murder. Sadly, she would soon pay for it with her life. Just before midnight on July 22, 2015, the Broken Arrow Emergency Services received a call.
Broken Arrow 911. Hello?
Oh, my brother's attacking my family.
Crystal couldn't say any more on the phone because she would get stabbed in the arms, chest, and neck. But when the police and paramedics finally made it to the house, she was still alive, crawling on the driveway. The paramedics took her in for emergency treatment while the officers knocked on the front door. Screaming could be heard from inside. The officers wasted no time and entered the house. Inside, April, David, and Daniel's bodies were scattered across the floor. The scene was as bloody as you can imagine. They had all been stabbed dozens of times. Inside the bathroom were the lifeless bodies of 7-year-old Christopher and 5-year-old Victoria. 2-year-old Autumn was the only one left untouched. She was crying in her crib. It was all too clear who was responsible, and the cops didn't even have to guess. Although her throat had been slit, Crystal had managed to tell them that they were looking for Robert and Michael. Within the hour, the brothers were found hiding in a bush in the forest behind their house. They were immediately arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Michael didn't like being cuffed. He was shivering, scared, and shocked by what he'd just done. Robert, on the other hand, well, he was proud, and he let the detectives know. A case like this would make headlines anywhere at any time, but for a small community like Broken Arrow, it was more than shocking. People had a lot of questions. Had the Bevers done something awful to their kids, or were Robert and Michael simply bad seeds? Why did they kill their little siblings too?
Said they've always been nice and no problems with them. So it was a shock, you know.
It just makes me sick to think what might have been going on in that home for a 16 and 18-year-old to work together to kill their family.
The police got most of the answers from 16-year-old Michael.
Sorry, a couple months ago, I think we got to this guy, we started talking about voodoo and rampage and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I didn't take it seriously at first, but then he started buying like audio and stuff.
So he was buying weapons because you guys had talked about murdering.
Yeah, and he started planning it.
Okay.
And I went along with it because I didn't see the other way. I thought I would want to do it. I very quickly learned tonight that I didn't.
Okay. That you didn't want to do it?
I didn't want to do it. I didn't.
Michael claimed he didn't kill anyone. He just stabbed his 9-year-old brother Christopher. And as it turns out, the family just stood in the way of their bigger plan. You see, Robert had ordered tons of guns and ammo to arrive at their home, and the delivery date was July 23rd. So they needed their whole family dead by then, as they couldn't justify going on a killing spree. The plan was to kill their entire family, dismember them, hide their body parts inside bins, hide the bins in the attic, and then take the ammo and kill at least 50 people. Why?
So he wanted to beat the kill amount of other famous people like Columbine and James Egan Holmes.
Okay.
But they didn't have a school, so where would they go?
I mean, who else were you gonna kill? Just whoever you ran into?
Yeah, pretty much. He said 5 at a time, like gas stations, restaurants.
Okay, and then just keep going.
Yeah.
The detective then asked Michael if he shared Robert's philosophy. He said he just found the whole idea of mass murder exciting. And when he asked about their family, well...
Yeah, I mean, mom's okay, but dad was a little bit, you know.
Just a little bit too much.
Here's where it gets really tragic. Michael claimed he was more of an innocent tag-along, but his story paints a different picture. First, the two boys stabbed Crystal after luring her to watch something on Robert's computer. Then, Robert attacked his parents, and Christopher and Victoria locked themselves inside the bathroom. That's when Michael started crying as if Robert was attacking him. He begged his younger siblings to let him inside the bathroom for protection. When they opened the door, he killed Christopher and Robert killed Victoria. Then Michael did it again when Daniel locked himself in his dad's office.
I was like, let me in.
The detective then made it clear he was just as responsible.
Well, what I'm saying is it's not Robert's the one that should get all the credit here.
Yeah.
Because it's a big deal. I mean, you're going to be on the news. You know what I mean?
Michael said Robert was set to kill. He would have just killed him too if he didn't tag along. But it was all lies. Robert told the police Michael had been just as happy to make the plan and carry out the deed. In fact, Michael had slit his mother's throat. On July 23rd, 3,000 rounds of ammo arrived at the house.
Broken Arrow PD and OSBI investigating. We know a family of 9 lived here. The parents and 3 children are dead. Another child, a 13-year-old, is fighting to live, and the youngest family member, a 2-year-old girl, is in the custody of the state and not hurt. Police say the 2 other children, teenage boys, were the ones responsible for these killings. And the details of what took place last night are slowly starting to be painted today, a gruesome picture.
The brothers were charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder and battery and were tried as adults. Throughout his trial, Robert seemed happy. However, in 2016, he tried to take his own life inside his prison cell. Outrageously, both brothers pleaded not guilty. Robert changed his plea to guilty after the 2016 incident. He was sentenced to 5 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole.
We have breaking team coverage this evening. One of the brothers accused of murdering his 5 family members in Broken Arrow will spend the rest of his life in prison.
Michael, on the other hand, insisted he was innocent. Robert even took the stand for him, taking responsibility for the murders. But he admitted Michael lured his siblings to their deaths and that he slit April's throat. So, Michael got the same prison sentence.
We weren't really sure what we were going to get, but after meeting with Robert, I knew that he would be authentic with the truth, whatever that is to him.
Yeah. During both trials, Robert admitted that his plan was to get famous and outdo the Columbine Massacre. Here's another strange twist. Michael doesn't seem to be on the path to rehabilitation. Just look at what he's been drawing in his personal diary. Robert, however, has made a complete 180 on his actions.
Once you've seen that evil people are just normal people too, then you realize how much of a challenge it is to be a good person and live a good, normal life and help people instead of killing them.
And if you could go back, you would do this another way, wouldn't you?
If I could go back and kill myself before I had a chance to do that, I would. That's how serious I am about it.
In 2019, the house mysteriously burned down, aka arson that the police were happy to let happen. The place had become a creepy visiting spot for rebellious teens, and no one in the neighborhood was happy about it. Now, a park stands in its place, a sign of people trying to move on from an unfathomable tragedy. Crystal and Autumn have been adopted by the same family. Hopefully their future is brighter than their past. Hey, thanks for watching. What do you think about this case? Let me know in the comment section, and before you leave, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more. See you next time, and stay safe.